Welcome back, everyone. In the last video, I forged out these two billets, 15N20 and 1084, and I made a bar of C's. Now I want to get them cleaned up, get all the scale off of them, get any kind of cold shuts that may be there, and get them flat. Then I will stack them up, alternating each layer so that the end cuts match when I forge them back together to make the W's. Then I'll put them in some oil, let them soak a little while I work on some fillet knives I had cut out in the last video. Now I'm gonna go ahead and mark the holes and get those drilled. So I'm working on my knives for the Louisiana Knife Show. I've got just a couple weeks to get everything done I need to get done. So let's stop wasting time. As I mentioned in the other video, I'd ran out of propane, and so I spent a whole half a day going to get propane and taking care of other chores. Had to get some things done for my boat, doing a lot of fishing, or at least as much as I can, and trying to get all these knives done. So I'm out here this morning feeding up animals. Check out my chicks here. About, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, a hurricane tore up my chicken pen, tree fell on it, and I completely redone it, saved what I could, and at the time I just gave my chickens away, and but I raised some New Hampshire Reds from chicks, and I'm out here this morning taking care of them. Check them out. 5 of them, and that's about all I need. I might add 1 or 2 later, but I had to redo this whole pen. Tree went right through the middle of it, put a hole through the house, through the roof, and we got her all fixed up. And I raised these from very small chicks. And they'll start laying in about 1.5 months, maybe 2 months. That's the plan anyway. All right, I'm gonna get my coffee, head back to the shop, and get some forging going. We've got a little cooler weather, so I'm happy about that. I mean, even 3 degrees helps, but it's gonna be a little cooler this week, so I wanna get all of this Damascus made. All right, got the holes drilled. Also went ahead and drilled some epoxy holes. These are bigger holes. And for the new makers, up and coming makers out there, you saw me chamfer those holes. And that's does a couple things, but mainly to reduce stress risers and prevent cracking. You don't want that to happen during heat treatment. It also gives a little extra wedge there for the epoxy. And you know, you're doing there, this is a a simple knife to make. You just slap handles on a tang and glue it and or bolt it or whatever you're doing. In this case, I'm pinning them. And but you want to make sure that it holds well. And I use a slow cure West system like epoxy, and to do that. And another thing I do, and I also do some things to the handle material that I'll show later when I go to glue on. I'm getting ready to heat treat these, but for the pins, I'm prepping pins as well. And here's a thong pin. If you notice, it's grooved, and I do that on the 2x72 grinder. I just spiral cut on the edge of the belt, grooves in there to help hold. It's just extra strength. I do it on the small pins as well. I don't know if you can see that. But all of that helps in strength, and you do everything right, clean, good prep work, and you won't ever have any problems with your handles coming off. I mean, you'd have to take a maul to them, and I don't care if you bolt them, I can get them off with a maul. But I'll be putting liners on the handle material. I've got 3 different sets of handle material here that have G10 liners, and that just helps kind of set it apart, you know, gives it some look. Like I said, these will be simple users. They're not going to be fancy. These are for the knife show, and I like to offer something that's a little cheaper, and but yet highly effective and performs well. That's what you want. You want performance and a good knife, and you know, there's some buyers there that can't spend $1,000 or so on a knife. These will give them what they want. They'll come with Kydex sheaths. So right now I'm gonna go ahead and get the heat treating going. Now I'm following Dr. Larrin Thomas's heat treating procedure to the T. And I know my kiln, I know the temperature, and when I'm using a new steel, I normally take coupons, heat treat several of them different ways, just slightly different, and then take them and over to a friend's house and use his Rockwell tester to you know, figure out what's going on there. I'll do brake tests and all that. But since I know my kiln, I know the temperature, if I'm gonna follow Dr. Larrin Thomas's procedure, and you go to knifesteelnerds.com, you can get it for Pro Cut. First time I'm using Pro Cut. Heard good things about it, and it's a high carbon steel. It will rust, so you'll have to keep it clean, which you should any knife. But let's get that going, and after we do that, we'll get on that Damascus. All right, so I got the billet drawn out and I cut it up into 3 pieces. And I'm doing the same thing as I did last time. I flipped them to match the pattern on the end. Got them tacked up in the awl and ready to weld one more time. I'll draw it out and then I'll cut it up into about 7 pieces that are equal pieces, and I'll stack them up and we'll do our split, and we'll proceed from there. And I also got the twist bar drawn out, and I haven't cut it yet because I want to get an exact length when I go to match it with the feather billet. This will go in the center of the feather billet. Now, I don't know if you can see this pattern on the end, but that is the twist pattern, twist W's that are forged out flat after they've been twisted. And I may even flatten this a little more. I'm gonna wait till I get it done. Also, this is half of that bar that's not twisted. I'm gonna be using this on another project. It's just W's, low layer. So right now I'm like at 240 layers on the big billet, and that's as much as I wanna go. And this is, a low layer billet, like close to 80 layers, something like that. But this is what the pattern looks like right now on that other billet, on the big billet. So it's just W's. And then I will cut them up after I forge them again, stack them, and then we'll split it, put it back together, including this twist billet. So right now I'm gonna go ahead and do all of that, and I'm gonna get to the point where I'm gonna cut them up into pieces for our split weld, our forge weld and split. So I'll spare you the forging and drawing out the third time there. We just go straight to the tall stack. All right, so we're at that step now. I drew that billet out, and I reforged welded it, drew it back out, and I cut it up. I've got 7 pieces here. I think it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. And I made a shelf to tack them down on. This is high carbon steel. I want it to forge weld to that shelf as well. It'll be part of the tang of one of the knives. This will make a couple knives, but it's cut up into equal size pieces. And I did the same flip, rotated the numbers so that my pattern matches, which is on each side here. Now what I'm gonna do is forge weld this down, and then I'm gonna hot split it and clean it up, flatten, make sure it's flat, put it back together with the twist bar in the center. Now I'll adjust the twist bar based on how thick this billet's gonna be, and I may have to flatten that twist out a little bit, but I'll cut it to length once I do that. I'll put it all back together, forge weld it. This will lay down this way, and we'll forge it out, draw it out into our final billet. It's a lot of work up to this point, but it's a critical point here. You got several forge welds at one time, big forge welds, just like you do when you're making a billet. But it's critical because it's so high, it's easy to tear something apart. You just got to take your time and try not to press too hard and be too aggressive, because you'll tear out. Now, I come in here and knock these corners off just a little bit. If there's any little gap on the corner, when I forge weld, I don't want any cold shuts. I got it smooth on both sides. And then once I start drawing it out, I'll bump those corners with the press a little bit to keep any tear out from happening. So I'm gonna get this in the awl, get it in the forge, get it forge welded. I'll do all the split work, clean up and all that as we go along, and we'll pick back up somewhere down the line. All right, I've got my two halves cleaned up and very flat. Key thing, you want them flat, flat, flat. And that'll ensure you get a good forge weld. But if you notice, I clean up all the way around these halves. I look for cold shuts or any kind of separation or delam. I want to make sure I get everything clean. And if I got a delam that I can grind it out, if not, it's not going to be any good. So, you know, I've done all this work this far. I want to make sure everything is clean. So, also got the twist billet. Went ahead, cut it to length, but I forged it out flat to make sure it'll fit in between the two pieces. Like this. It's going to have a center in there. And actually what I did is I've doubled up on those twist bars. So I've got two twist bars forge welded together here. I thought that'd be a little more interesting than a single twist bar. We'll see. I don't know how this is going to look, but I thought it'd be something unique. Different kind of feather than the norm. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to weld up each end. I'm not going to weld the sides because I don't want to have to stop and grind all that out. I get a good flat surfaces here and I'll get a good forge weld. I'll put a handle on it and we'll get it in the forge. All right, so after 10 gallons of propane, 350 grit belts, 4 cutoff wheels, 3 220 grit flat discs, and about 3 days, we got our billet done. And I know you can't see here. I got a close-up for you to show you here. It didn't come out exactly like I wanted it to. I am going to make 2 blades out of this. This will draw out some more and probably get a little wider. Because right now this is about a little over 5/16 thick. And so that center pattern will spread out a little bit, but it's I should have had a little bit thicker core there with that twist to show up. And it still looks pretty cool. It's like a stem in there. But the billet came out great. I mean, it is solid all over and no edge issues, just comes out real good. And so now I can make the blades. I also got to finish, go ahead and grind these 3 fillet knives and get the sheaths made. I got the 2 neck knives and I still have another billet that I can twist. I plan on twisting this, using it on another project. I've got some guard material and I still have about a 4-inch piece of this before it's split that I'll be using on some spacer material. So I did made a good bit of steel. But I hope you got something out of this. Still working on my show knives. I'm gonna be getting after it to try to get at least one of these blades made out of this bar. I know I'll get the fillet knives done, but hope you got something out of it. We're gonna see you on the next one. We'll be picking up right on the fillet knives. I wanna thank my patrons. I wanna thank you for watching.